I helped found mp3.com, and we started the online digital revolution in music and changed music from people listening to CDs and cassettes to people downloading MP3s and using streaming services that we invented. When other children were playing with toys, my mother had me playing with words, crossword puzzles, find the word puzzles, all kind of puzzles she used to put in front of me to keep me busy. And Wiz Khalifa used to come to my house in Wilkinsburg to go to the studio and buy beats off of Black Seas. I met Mac Miller when he was 15 years old. He was one of the young people that I mentored in a program that I worked for called the MLK Project.
Everything. There's nothing like that in a doctor's office.
To think that we only focus on the challenges, we don't think about the
dysregulated, and the child is becoming more regulated.
Some of the early signs that a parent may look for in terms of
a great song for the Stands.
All right, this is something I've been wanting to share for a long time. Ins Media is launching something. Welcome to InStar Podcast. I'm your host, Envy. This is a show where culture, history, and community collide through the voices of the people who helped shape them. Today's guest is a true legend of the hip-hop world, a pioneer, a historian, curator, and activist whose life work has helped preserve the story of a global culture. From the South Bronx to New York's iconic Latin Quarter and now to Pittsburgh, Paradise Gray has been at the center of the hip-hop's golden era and beyond. He is the chief curator of the Universal Hip Hop Museum and a key figure in documenting the art, artifacts, and memories that keep hip-hop's legacy alive. Today, we are talking about Paradise Gray and his hip-hop treasures, the stories behind his collections, his role in shaping and archiving the culture, and why these memories matter for future generations. Paradise, welcome to the InStar Podcast Show.
Thank you very much, my man. MB, good to be here.
Same here. Paradise Gray, it's an honor for us to you be here, and we wanted to know a lot about you in our show. You grew up in South Bronx when hip-hop was just starting. What do you remember most from these early days?
New York City, baby. You know, all the way live. Culture everywhere. People everywhere from all different walks of life contributing to everyday life that was really interesting for a small child that is curious like me.
Can you tell about your early childhood, your family, what inspired you as a child, and how you came into this career?
Oh, well, I'll start with the number one inspiration in my life, my mother, Jessie Mae Felicia Gray. My mother was a beautiful woman with a big smile, big heart, incredibly talented, and she was a people person that was a master seamstress, and she worked in what used to be sweatshops in New York and New Jersey. And she mentored the immigrant women from Jamaica, Haiti, Africa, and from many Spanish-speaking countries. These women couldn't barely speak English, but my mother was able to communicate with them and help them through not only their work life, but through their personal lives also. So that gave me an opportunity to grow up with an incredible, diverse group of family that formed my mom's tribe.
So your mom is an inspiration. So you grew up in a big family, and
I was born in North Carolina. I have one brother and one sister. My mom and my dad moved us to New York when I was 4 years old, and my mother was an incredibly talented seamstress and an artist in her own right. My brother was a illustrating artist, and my sister was an athlete. My dad was a hardworking guy. Him and my mom went to work every day, and they surrounded us with music, films, books, and culture. And it was those books that sparked my early imagination. When other children were playing with toys, my mother had me playing with words, crossword puzzles, find the word puzzles, all kind of puzzles she used to put in front of me to keep me busy. So I was reading at a very early age, and there was an organization called RIF in New York. Reading is fundamental. And they had a truck called the Bookmobile. They used to drive around. It was like a mobile library. And every single day, I grabbed as many books as I can, and I was reading from 4 years old. So every day, from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep, you find me with either a book in my hand or a radio.
That's looks like a very good influence for a kid like you. And again, later in your life, hip hop became a big thing. So for our audience, like you selected one thing which is very unique, and at the time it's also probably one of the starting years. Like how you come into the hip hop area and made that as your career.
Oh man, like I said, once again, it was early Bronx, New York. In 1970, I lived in the Bronxdale projects with my cousin. When my mom and dad first came to New York, they had us living with our cousins until they were able to get jobs and raise enough money for us to get our own apartment. So in the Bronxdale projects, the building I lived in, there was a DJ that lived there by the name of Disco King Mario. And he was one of the earliest hip hop DJs before Kool Herc and before Africa Bambaataa. And he was extremely handsome, a great dancer, and he lived right in my building. He used to bring his equipment out and play music for free in the parking lot and in the park. And when I saw him with those big speakers blasting that music, dancing with all the women, all the girls screaming for him, I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do.
You wanted to be a star at very early age, and you became one star now. And for those people like who don't know you, like how deep you're into hip hop, and you did so many wonderful things. And can you elaborate on that, like from the beginning of the hip hop career?
Sure. Yes, and after the Bronxdale projects, I moved to a community on the west side of the Bronx called Highbridge. And in that community, there was another legendary DJ by the name of Pete DJ Jones. And Pete DJ Jones was New York's #1 disco DJ. He was a mobile DJ who had big sound system, and he used to travel all over the city to all the boroughs to play his music. He also mentored Curtis Blow, Hollywood, Lovebug Starsky, and Curtis Blow, and Grandmaster Flash. So all of those early hip-hop superstars used to be in my community, 1 block from my house. Of course, I was too young to be in the club and the bar, so we used to stand across the street and we used to dance and rock to the music from across the street as little kids.
Wow, that's I think surroundings build a lot about your character and where you go in the future. I think you had a very nice surroundings where culture, creativity was exploring, and you happened to be there.
Yes.
And I think that's what got you into this.
Absolutely. Plus, I love to dance and sing. My mother, every Friday, there was a record store right around the corner from our house. Every Friday, she would come home from work and go to the record store and get a handful of 45s, which were the small 7-inch records. And She used to sing and cook in the house and clean the house. And we used to listen to all the incredible music, Motown, Stax Volt, the Philadelphia sound. She introduced me to so much music and so many artists. Then on Saturday mornings, we would watch Soul Train together as a family. And after Soul Train would go off, my mom would put on all the same music that was just on TV right in our living room. And me, my brother, sister, and my mom used to do our own Soul Train lines, listening to those very hit records that we just saw on TV.
Yeah, your mom is a housewife, right? Like, but she also...
No, she was a worker. She was a hard worker. She was a seamstress.
So that's a lot.
My mom and my dad went to work every single day. We didn't live in the projects. We didn't have food stamps. We didn't have no Section 8, no public assistance at all. My mother and my father, they rolled up their sleeves, went to work every day, and taught me, my brother and sister, that hard work ethic that comes from the South and the spirituality that went along with it that keeps a family together.
Yeah, means that's an inspiration itself for you, and the things you did probably actually you took it from there. But also we learned that you started saving flyers, photos, and other items before people thought of hip hop history.
Absolutely.
When did you realize those things mattered, or is it just a hobby?
It started out as a hobby. Let me tell you something about my brother Michael. My brother Michael was an incredible individual. He was almost 300 pounds, 6'2", very young, but he was very Barney. When I say Barney, he loved everybody. Even though he was one of the biggest, most physical dudes on the block, he was an artist. He was a creator, and he collected stamps and coins at first. I wasn't interested in that. Then he started collecting comic books. That caught my attention. Once he started collecting comic books, I started in with him also. But we didn't get along very well after that because he was a comic collector and I was a comic reader. So he banned me from reading his books because he liked to put them in plastic and preserve them and keep them in perfect condition. Me, I like to read that book 20 times, so I almost memorized the words. So I had to start my own comic book collection. So collecting comics led to my love of collecting hip-hop flyers because hip-hop artists were named just like comic book characters. Grandmaster Flash, Grand Wizard Theodore, Cool DJ Herc, Grandmaster Flowers, all these big flamboyant names, the Furious Five. So when I looked at those flyers, they had original artwork on many of them. And the artwork was graphic drawings of people that looked like me. So it had the superhero characterization and comic feel, but it was actual people who I could relate to, who I saw walking down the street every day.
So you instantly got connected and you started enjoying and so.
Oh yes, the art on the old school hip hop flyers are so amazing. A simple Google search would come up with hundreds, maybe even thousands of images. But once you get hooked on those images and that creativity, there was no going back. I had to have everything hip hop and rap. So everything was interesting. The art was interesting. The music was interesting. All of the dances were new and exciting, and the rapping was fresh. You know, I could never sing like all of my favorite singers. I could never be Nat King Cole or Sam Cooke or Luther Vandross, but Grandmaster Melly Mel, Grandmaster Cass, I could do that.
You remember a lot of people. So, but like hip hop grew out, like you said earlier, out of DJing, b-boying, graffiti, and spoken word during the tough social times.
Yes, sir.
How did that environment shape the culture for you?
Well, those things are always prevalent in the black community. You know, rapping, that style came from Malcolm X. Martin Luther King Jr., the Civil Rights Movement, H. Rap Brown, the Black Panthers, James Brown, and the radio DJs in New York, they would rap on the radio every day.
So this is like during 1970s or?
Yes.
Okay.
Dancing, well, the biggest thing in our lives was Soul Train every week. And we watched those dancers from Chicago and LA. Those guys was funky. They had all the new dances, all the old dances, modern dance, ballet. They did everything, and they made it look so sexy and so funky, plus the fashion that they wore, the big afros and the leather clothes and stuff, the bell bottoms. So
that's all like a 70s.
Exactly. Yeah. It was all like living like you're living in the movies. Our life every day was like movie stuff.
Yeah.
Better than the movies was the stuff we would see every day, and there was nothing better than on a hot summer day to come outside with your big DJ equipment and speakers and music, and you turn it on and people come running from miles away. You could wind up with 5,000 to 10,000 people partying, dancing, and celebrating Black love and Black culture right there in the streets for free.
Yeah, that sounds like a golden era. Since we are talking about that nice times, why not we talk about the Latin Quarter? And you ran an entertainment at the Latin Quarter, a legendary club. For people who don't know it, why was that place is so important for you?
Well, the clubs in New York, that's where it was going down. The disco fever in the Bronx, Roseland, the Palladium, Studio 54, the Roxy, the Danceteria. It was just hundreds and hundreds of clubs all over New York. And that's where the beautiful people, the people with money, the people with style, fashion, clothing, nice cars, that's where they would go to congregate with each other, to listen to music and to party our butts off. So I was lucky enough to be invited to the Latin Quarter by the Awesome Two, who did a Celebrity Tuesdays at the club, and they invited me to come to the club to be a celebrity judge for this rap contest. And I wound up meeting the owner of the club and having a conversation about, how much money they made and how much more money they could make if I did the promotions. So Mike Goldberg and Steven Goldberg, they gave me a chance to do some parties, and we made a lot of money. So they kept me on, and I brought in all the rappers who I've been working with, since I was a kid. So now I was 19 years old. I've been working with rappers since I was 7 years old. So I knew everybody. So
it's in like Times Square? Or
yes, the club was in 48th and Broadway.
Oh, okay.
Right in the middle of Times Square.
That's like a very happening place even like from since then.
Always. The club, the Latin Quarters used to be the Cotton Club.
Okay. Like since like at those times, like we are not exposed to social media, there was no Facebook or nothing. Like how you guys to promote these events?
Oh my goodness. We had the best thing in the world. We had radio in New York. WBLS, 98.7 KISS. The radio stations in New York, let me explain this to you. When you play something on the radio in New York, you can hear New York's radio stations in New Jersey, Philly, and Connecticut. So you not only get the 5 cities called the 5 boroughs of New York, but your music is playing in 5, 6 different cities outside of New York.
Wow, that's like great promotion. Like, so you guys used to keep advertising in the radio, or do you, like how the things work then? Because now you have to pay for everything. Like, is
absolutely, you pay for your advertising.
Okay.
And you make it pop. You got to understand one thing. Our DJ on Friday was DJ Red Alert, the top DJ in New York City on the radio at the time. So he would be on the radio on Fridays from 10 to 12. When he gets off that radio, he comes straight to the club. And on his way off the mic, he'd be like, all right, y'all know where I'm going. See y'all at Latin Quarters. The next day, Saturday, the number 2 DJ in New York, Chuck Chillout, is DJing at my club. Same thing. So you pay for the radio advertising, you put the flyers out there, and word of mouth about our club was the biggest thing in the world. Come on, the club is in the middle of Times Square. So every night, the line is around the corner. People driving down Times Square, you drive down Broadway or 7th Avenue, and you're going to see 200 of the finest women you ever seen in your life standing in line. You don't need to hear what's on the radio. You don't need to see a flyer. You're saying, I'm going there.
So, like, what number we are talking about? Like 200, 300, like, for these events? Like, how big is that number?
What was the capacity?
And the people count turnover for, like, these events?
The capacity of the Latin Quarters was probably officially, it was probably about 900. But we used to put like 1,200 people in that club every night, easy.
Oh, wow. So, like, one of the special thing a lot of people don't know about is you mentored some great artists who became legends. And how did you know who had something special? Is it like you already know?
Nah, you put them on the stage and you let them filter. It's New York City, baby. You know what I'm saying? You give people an opportunity, and you put them on stage, and it's like a bird with his babies. You throw them out the nest, fly or die. Either you rock the house and you a big success, or you get booed off the stage and you go away. If you was the beautiful thing about my club, on the Friday or Saturday, if you did good on that stage, by Monday morning, you probably had a record deal waiting for you.
So, like Mac Miller, Wiz Khalifa, can you tell about those legends?
Oh, that's
how your interactions with those?
Years and years later after I came to Pittsburgh. Well, I'm talking about with the Latin Quarter, that was like from 86 to late 88.
Okay.
And once I moved to Pittsburgh in 92, there was a burgeoning underground scene here. So I used to hang out at Shadow Lounge here, and I had a studio in Wilkinsburg, and I had already met most of the legendary Pittsburgh artists. I had a producer named Black Seas who was living with me, and Wiz Khalifa used to come to my house in Wilkinsburg to go to the studio and buy beats off of Black Seas. And Mac Miller, I met Mac Miller when he was 15 years old. He was one of the young people that I mentored in a program that I worked for called the MLK Project, Moving the Lives of Kids, with Kyle Holbrook. So we painted the murals all around Pittsburgh. You'll see the murals that are orange.
Yes.
Those are the murals that we painted. Wow. And Mac Miller was one of the young people in the program, so we also gave them music, studio time, music lessons, and general life advice. I found that it's always good when you're working with young people with music and art to always put some seriousness in there too.
So this is an interesting story. I wanted to ask about this, like your interaction with the great legends happened here in Pittsburgh, but what brought you to Pittsburgh? Like New York, Bronx was a very happening city. Like why? Can you bring that story?
Absolutely. Well, in 1992, everything started changing. Hip hop was changing from the golden era to the platinum era. Everything was being sold from independent artists to major labels. And everything just started changing. Hip hop started being less about culture, peace, love, unity, and having fun. And it started just becoming about making money. And New York had changed drastically also. There was a merger of the drug community and the entertainment community. And, it really started downhill trajectory for me. I really didn't like it. New York City was turning into Sodom and Gomorrah, and I didn't want to live in Diddy City anymore. So I came to Pittsburgh with my cousin.
Yeah, so like you also told me, like you worked with MP3. So that's in Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's
or-
2000. That's years later.
Oh, okay, years later. Okay.
I came
So
to
we'll come to
Pittsburgh
that. Yeah.
I came to Pittsburgh in 92. I left Pittsburgh in 98 and I moved to San Diego, where I helped found mp3.com. And we started the online digital revolution in music and changed music from people listening to CDs and cassettes to people downloading MP3s and using streaming services that we invented.
Also, like Paradise.
Yes, sir.
You're a founder of X-Clan. Your music was deeply political.
Mm-hmm.
How did the art and activism come together for you?
Well, at the time in New York, in the 1986, New York was New Jack City. You know, the crack epidemic was ridiculous in the streets, and there was a lot of police brutality and a lot of racism baked into the system. So one of the things that rappers always did was speak about current events and what was going on around them. So building on a rich tradition that was pioneered by Grandmaster Mel with The Message, and Kool Moe Dee with his intelligent, articulate consciousness, you know, my partner at the time, Lumumba Carson, who wound up being known as Professor X in my group X-Clan, his father was a gentleman by the name of Sonny Carson. And Sonny Carson's claim to fame was they had made a movie off of his autobiography called The Education of Sonny Carson. So he was an activist that was Brooklyn-based, one of the most feared black leaders in the world, actually, definitely in America. He mentored Al Sharpton, and he was the center of the, movement, the BLA, the Black Panthers, all of those dealt with my elder. So he introduced us to a council of elders from all walks of intelligent life. And they gave us a lot of knowledge, history, religion, and culture. And we took the words of our ancestors and our elders and turned it into music so that we could educate other young people about what we were learning.
So you got a lot of attention?
Oh, yeah. We went on world tours. Music cracked the top 10 at Billboard. We were on BET, MTV. We did our thing.
So like when you're speaking against some of these forces, like do you also get threats or some kind of, means when it is New York or here in Pittsburgh?
You don't threaten a lion.
I got it. To everyone listening, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure subscribe, follow Instar Podcast at Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Also, don't forget to leave a review and check the show notes for links to learn more about Paradise Grey, One Hood Media, and the Universal Hip Hop Museum. Until next time, keep the Pittsburgh culture and vibrancy alive. Thank you for watching our Instar Podcast today.